Hello, welcome to US News. Today I will take you to second round. South Carolina defeats Duke. Is this the worst NCAA tournament loss in Duke history? Take your jaw off the floor. We'll wait. The mighty Duke Blue Devils, 1 week ago crowned ACC tournament champions and discussed as a probable number 1 seed, were handed a stunning loss on Sunday night to the feel-good South Carolina Gamecocks, a team that hadn't won an NCAA tournament game since 1973 and had never seen the Sweet 16. The ACC Blue Blood losing to the SEC also ran was surprising enough, but even more so given that SC was 7-35 from the floor at halftime with the game playing out just as everyone expected. Then, out of nowhere, the Gamecocks shot 71% in the second half and nearly tripled its first half-point total. Frank Martin's smothering brand of defense rattled Duke players, who couldn't hit an open jump shot in the final 12 minutes and then began to panic once South Carolina took a 7-point lead with 8:53 left, en route to what ended up being an easy 88-81 victory. No one saw this coming. Not this one. Even if you thought Duke was a bit overrated and a bit of a streaky enigma, the Devils were still the tournament's betting favorite, going off at 5-1, just slightly better than South Carolina's 201 odds. Ending the season with a loss? Not astonishing. Losing when they did to who they did? Yeah, that'll do it. So where does this one go on Duke's list of tournament disappointments? Yes, they do have some. When you've been on top of the sport for more than 30 years and have won 5 titles, you're also having 28 end-of-season defeats. That's the way it goes. Other teams' last losses are merely the natural end of their season. Duke's take on a different meaning is if every year they seek, and approach, immortality. The Blue Devils have suffered earlier losses, bigger numerical upsets and larger point spread defeats. But were those teams favored to win the title? Did those losses come at the hands of teams with less basketball tradition than Northwestern? Tough weekend for Duke coaches. By the way, we looked at more than 3 decades of NCAA tournament results for the greatest program in modern history and ranked the worst losses suffered by a Mike Krzyzewski-coached team. You may be surprised where this one goes. In descending order. 1996, number 8 lost to number 9 Eastern Michigan, first round. This was Coach K's first ever first-round loss, but it came 1 year after the team's 1995 implosion, which Krzyzewski laid on assistant Pete Gaudet, and on the heels of an 8-8 ACC regular season and first-round loss in the ACC tournament. This was a number 10 or number 11 seed who got a bump because it was Duke. No stunners here. 2007, number 6 lost to number 11, VCU, first round. The Devils were 7th in the ACC after losing superstars J.J. Redick and Sheldon Williams. VCU was not yet VCU. This was a bad loss to an inferior team, but Eric Maynor was the real deal. 1997 number 2 lost to number 10 Providence, second round. A better version of the 1996 team, but one that was 5-7 against top 25 competition. It's hard to assign too much disappointment to a team that started Greg Newton 30 times. 2014, number 3 lost to number 14 Mercer, first round. Once Duke showed it wasn't infallible, in a loss that'll come up later on the list, it was far less of a bombshell when it happened again. This was the worst Duke defense in nearly 20 years, and the offense proved the old saying true. When you live by the 3, you die by the 3. Much like on Sunday, the Devils couldn't get a grip after an underdog clawed its way back into the game and went 0-4 from beyond the arc in crunch time. 2008, number 2 lost to number 7 West Virginia, second round. This was becoming an epidemic. The loss to Bob Huggins and the Mountaineers marked the seventh time in the previous 8 years, dating back to the team's 2001 national championship, that Duke hadn't made a regional final and put the team's NCAA tournament record in games outside North Carolina at 5-7. West Virginia famously had no McDonald's All-Americans on their team while the Dukies had 8. The first real jaw dropped on this list. 1993, number 3 loss to number 6 California, second round. The Blue Devils were coming off back-to-back national titles and 5 straight Final Four appearances, so when Jayson Kidd knocked out the team in a stunning second-rounder, it was instantly the most astonishing loss of the Krzyzewski era. In retrospect, it's less surprising. Things always are though, aren't they? Though Bobby Hurley was a senior and Grant Hill emerged as a sophomore superstar, replacing Christian Lettner with Cherokee Parks was never going to turn out well. 2017, number 2 lost to number 7 South Carolina, second round. Sunday was bad, but, with the same benefit of time, we may regard Duke's March revival to have been a lot of smoke and mirrors. The Devils, who played through injuries and Grayson Allen antics for the first few months of the season, was never good enough to warrant a number 1 seed and, by virtue of an impressive ACC tournament win, made people forget they ended the regular season losers 3 of 4, and were a blown layup from having it been 4 of 5. The 2016-17 Blue Devils are who we thought they were, a talented team that could hang with anyone in the country but, throw 'em against a tough defense and see the shots not fall, and they were also a team that could also play down to the level of any opponent. 2002, number 1 lost to number 5 Indiana, Sweet 16. This was a little deeper into the tournament but was no less an upset. Indiana was a mediocre Big Ten team and Duke was on a collision course for an All-ACC title game against Maryland. Then Jason Williams missed a free throw on a possible 4-point play in the final seconds to cap a meltdown by the defending champs. 2006, number 1 lost to number 4 LSU, Sweet 16. The 2006 Duke squad, starring J.J. Redick and Sheldon Williams, was better than both the 2010 and 2015 title teams. But just like 4 years before, the double-digit favorites collapsed in a Sweet 16 game that everybody was looking past. Redick went 3-18 and left the court in tears. Big Baby Davis and Tyrus Thomas were dominating the paint and Duke was bounced from a tournament that was theirs to lose. 2012, number 2 lost to number 15 Lehigh, first round. Bad defense and cold shooting, Duke was 6-26 on three-pointers, led the 2011-12 Blue Devils to the most stunning loss in school history. You could argue, and I deeply thought about, either the Indiana or LSU game being a bigger upset, but the Lehigh game best sums up the Duke tournament letdowns. It was also a 15-2 upset, a win that's still so rare you can count the number of times it's happened on your fingers. In the years of Duke's key first weekend upsets, those Blue Devil teams generally haven't been very good. This 12 Duke team featured Austin Rivers, Seth Curry, Mason Plumlee and Ryan Kelly, not the centerpieces of a Final Four contender. But Krzyzewski maximizes talent and the team squeezes every last ounce from its players, so mediocre teams turn into good teams, while never quite getting over the fear they'll one day be exposed. As constructed, the 2012 Dukies were probably a number 5 seed that Coach K molded into a number 3 seed and that turned into a number 2 seed because there's an inherent bias every time the selection committee sees the letters DUKE. If the 17 Blue Devils shouldn't have been title favorites, the addition from 5 years ago shouldn't have been in the title discussion. Once again though, the team faced a hot hand, CJ McCollum, and choked down the stretch, seemingly amazed that the Duke Magic had abandoned them, just as it did Sunday night in Greenville when Mike Krzyzewski and his merry band of one-and-dones and upper-class heroes walked off the court losers, again. Many thanks for watching our channel video. If you see or click the subscribe button and share to support yourself offline. Thank you and see you in the next newsletter. Bye bye.